What you're looking at is a building and outside with over 300 JDM cars. Now, they're not called JDM cars here, they're just cars. Cars including a really cool black Toyota Hiace across the road, and up on that little perch there's a very rare, very cool 90s two-door Toyota Landcruiser Prado. The reason that they're just cars is because we're in New Zealand. Hey, what's up? It's me, Nathan. Sorry I've been gone for a while. Yeah, what a move. We're in New Zealand now, and I've been getting emails from people wondering what's happening with me. Yeah, I'm still alive. So if you don't know, I sold Vision. Vision is still in Perth, and yeah, much to my demise, it's going to be turned into a camper van. But such is life, and I think that's probably the right place for it. You know why I had to sell it. Firstly, it was going to be really expensive to bring to New Zealand, and yeah, the compliance inspections here, they've gotten really strict. So if they did find, I don't know, a French fry in the back seat that they didn't like, well, it would have meant that Vision would now become like a very heavy paperweight, because it wouldn't have ever been able to be registered here. So anyway, I thought I'd show you what I'm driving. This is a 2004 Toyota Landcruiser Prado, and it's not mine, it is my parents'. It's their spare car, and given space is a premium, parking space is a premium at my parents' house, I just decided to start driving this. And I do quite like it. It's a 2004, and I think you might like it as well. I'll show you around it quickly. So it's sitting on Prado 150 series wheels, which I threw on about a week ago. And the original wheels are a bit softer and a bit more curvy than these ones. These are a bit more angular, and I think it suits it really well. They're wrapped in Bridgestone Dueler all-terrain tires. And yeah, the tires are really nice. This car was originally purchased to tow my parents' boat, which I'd say weighs about 1.8 tons. Fully loaded, probably with fuel and gear and things like that, probably just over 2 ton. And this, actually no, it weighs a bit more than that. It's probably closer to 2.5 ton. And this weighs about, I'd probably say just under 2.5 ton. And it pulls the boat like it wasn't there, which is surprising because it's got the same engine as Vision, although I will say in this car it feels a lot different. I'll talk about that in a minute. Let me give you a walk around. This car was originally bronze beige, and my parents hated the color, so they resprayed it. And I remember when these were sort of first out, I really didn't like the look of them, but it has aged very nicely. You got fog lights on the bottom, and then your main headlights up here. You got the big chrome Toyota grille, and then this one's got the very JDM spec Prado nudge bar. I mean, you couldn't really nudge anything with this, it's just gonna snap off, but I guess it's there for looks. The paint is really beautiful. So when I told my parents the paint code to use, I sent them what looked like a lighter shade of blue, but this is the one that I meant. And when they sent me photos of it after it was resprayed, I said, you guys screwed up. You painted it too dark. It looks crap. When I got to New Zealand, I was like, oh, it does look nice. It is the right shade of blue. It's a genuine Toyota dark, I think it's mica metallic blue or midnight blue. I'm not sure. But it does look good with the chrome offsets on the mirrors. This car's really dirty, and it doesn't really get looked after until I got here. So I am starting to, I don't know, do the Nathan Sharma treatment to it. Like, these weather shields are really worn out and crusty. And it goes to show, this is a 2004. Vision was a 1997, and it was immaculate. And this one's also just been resprayed as well, like I said. You got running boards on it. These are real nice running boards as well. Like, it shakes the entire car. Round the side, you got your typical Toyota stickers. Toyota loves these little ABS stickers. I remember my old MR2 had 4 ABS on the back. That looked really cool. Up the top, factory roof rails. And this one's only got the back windows tinted. But yeah, it is tinted. You've got little, I think they are little fog lamps in the back there. Obviously the tow bar, it's a genuine Toyota tow bar to tow the boat. There's a little 4-wheel drive sticker here that's come off. But yeah, it's got the genuine Prado wheel cover on it. These look really nice. The only downside is if you put a lift kit on and get bigger wheels, yeah, you can't really fit the spare cover on it anymore. And the back doors open on these like this. What is that? Why is that there? Okay, my parents took the car last night and apparently they buried a dead body somewhere. Anyway, it has the typical Landcruiser flip down seats, so these fold down either side and then you get a third row of seating. And then very ingeniously you have your middle seat belt up here. But you do have air vents all the way in the third row here as well. They did think it through. And then we'll come down to the side. Oh, just like Vision, these windows pop out as well. This car has a lot more ground clearance than Vision obviously did. But it's also not as cool as Vision, I think. I'll just show you around the inside quickly. So, wood grain, somewhat squishy material up here. It's not very squishy. This is more like just a normal cloth trim. Vision definitely had a much better interior. I shouldn't be comparing the two, but I'm only doing it for you. This one has some rubber Prado floor mats. The 120 series Prados have a very nasty reputation for cracking their dashboards, and this dashboard is all cracked. But yeah, it's a very okay interior. It's very Toyota of the era. Your standard sort of Toyota center console, which happens to be a refrigerator that holds about 8 cans. And then your standard sort of gear selector, and then your low range there. This one has downhill assist control and a center diff lock. Dual zone climate control, and then this head unit actually works pretty well. It's an aftermarket one. Airbags everywhere, along with up on the A-pillar on this edition. Yeah, this is just a nice sort of everyday car to drive around. Although I would have much preferred to be driving Vision. You can really see what you can get from the package in this. Like, it's hard for me to get an angle here because I bought it inside, but yeah, this thing does have amazing ground clearance just out of the box. It looks great. I think the size of the tires, the original tires, are great as well. You've got plenty of sidewall on there to just air down and drive on the beach and things like that. So it is an out-of-the-box four-wheel drive. Like, I must be getting old because I saw this and I was like, oh, I would never lift that. Whereas previously, I would see, like, I don't know, a monster truck and think, oh yeah, I need to lift that. Bonnet on gas struts. And here's the thing. I did not know that this had a 1KZ in it. I thought it was a 1KD. When I started driving it, it felt so peppy and just really torquey and really powerful. And I mean, Vision was no slouch as well. It was a very torquey, very peppy, very well maintained 1KZ engine. Vision had done 180,000 kilometers. This one has just ticked over 325,000 kilometers. So a lot more kilometers than Vision. And this one pulls a boat. And apparently the previous owner really didn't care about it too much. So the big difference on this one is obviously the air-to-air intercooler mounted up there. That makes a world of difference. And I guess the other difference is this car's in New Zealand where it's nice and crispy and cold. But yeah, I mean, just take a look at the size of that airbox. That's my full palm, for example. It's a massive airbox. And it, yeah, it's like Toyota. I thought it said goose. It says goosey. Anyway, here's the 1KZ engine. What have I done to this one? When I first got here, it wouldn't get up to running temperature. I said to my stepdad, the car's not getting up to temperature. The thermostat is seized. And he said, no. They never seize. Someone pulled it out. And I'm like, do you know where the thermostat is on a 1KZ? Why would you go through all that trouble and not put another one in? Anyway, I pulled this off. I pulled off the turbo hoses, and you got to be so careful because the hoses are now like old and hard. You can't just yank them because then you'll just rip them. Pulled it all off carefully, took the alternator out. I unbolted the air conditioning compressor and just moved it over to the side. And yeah, sure enough, the old thermostat was seized. So put a new one in, topped it off with coolant, and it's running very nicely now. The intercooler is fed through the grill. So if you see, where is it? These little channels here. Oh, where are you? One there. and one here should suck in air from the grill, and then it vents it inside the hood down these channels and over the intercooler, and there's a little rubber seal that seals up against it. So yeah, it works really well. It drives really nice. And the one thing I hate about this is you got to slam the bonnet to close it. I feel really bad doing that because, yeah, it's just not what I normally do. But I thought I'd say hi, and I thought I'd show you what I'm driving. My family's a real Toyota family, so this was their boat pulling car, spare car. Oh, I should... How rude of me not to show myself. Yeah, still rocking the Mo, and yeah, my mum drives a late model RAV4. My stepdad drives a brand spanking new Hi-S 300 series, and now I'm driving this. And yeah, you're probably wondering about the cars in the background. I'm not going to tell you. Yeah, those cars across the road today, they are all JDM cars. And actually, I was talking about Hi-Aces earlier, and just down the road here, I went past a dealer, and they have about 120 Hi-Aces parked outside. Just goes to show, you're in New Zealand. Anyway, I'm just going to put this outside now, so I can lock up and get out of here. Oh, the other thing that I was going to say about this, and I completely forgot, was the gearbox on this is an A750. Be quiet, be quiet. The gearbox on this is an A750. Vision was an A340. Yeah, the gearboxes make such a big difference to how a car drives. And there is no overdrive button in that thing. There is no... Let me just close this down. There is no overdrive button. You don't need to mess with anything. There's no ECT power button on that. So it is just a put it in drive sort of ordeal. Yeah, once it's in drive, you just drive. That's all you have to do. And boy, is it intuitive. That's probably a big reason as to why I couldn't figure out that it was a 1KZ under the engine. Under the engine. This is a man trying to multitask. The brain just stops working. Yeah, I couldn't tell that it was a 1KZ until I started working on it. It drives like it's got a good 30% more power than Vision and torque. And yeah, I'd say a big part of that probably does have that much power, more. Comes down to the intercooler, but also just how the transmission operates. It shifts smoothly. You can push down on the accelerator a little bit and it'll downshift very smoothly as well. It gets up to highway speed, it locks up the torque converter and then unlocks and does all of that completely on its own. And yeah, it's just a really nice thing to drive, like not having to worry about that, just the overdrive. And you know how much bleeding on I went about with the overdrive on Vision, because if you get it wrong, you screw it up. And on this, it's very hard to screw it up because it's all done for you. It's a very modern car, and here I guess you can see a bit more of the ground clearance that it offers. Plus low range, and yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, and I guess I'm going to get cancelled, but actually no, you can't cancel me because no one knows me. I don't have enough followers. Anyway, when these first came out, I had a Landcruiser 80 and then a Landcruiser 105, and I remember thinking of these as the Landcruiser's sort of what do I say, gender unsure little brother. It didn't have the big Landcruiser engine. It wasn't as big as a Landcruiser. It didn't have as bigger tires on it, and it was like a baby Landcruiser. And yeah, it's really grown on me now. You know, geography has a big part to play in what you see yourself driving. And here in New Zealand, every road seems to be a small road. This is a main road, and it's a small road. The car parks here are tiny, absolutely tiny. And so this makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't want a big full-size Land Cruiser here because you get the best of everything with this. It'll go anywhere, it'll last forever, it'll pull anything, and it'll do all of that going anywhere. I think it looks good, it's aged very well. And yeah, I think the older I get, the more I like this. The one thing that I would probably do is, if I was to buy one myself, I would definitely go to Australia and get one from there. You know why? I used to say that Japan kept all the good stuff for themselves. That used to be the case. Back in the day, Japan kept all the cool cars just for themselves, and they would give places like Australia and, I don't know, America, cars without all the fancy fruit. For example, the Land Cruiser in Australia got a bigger radiator and a bigger air conditioning condenser, and then they stripped everything out of it. Now things have changed. Now the Australian one has, well, all Land Cruisers in Australia have 2 fuel tanks, but now they have better interiors, leather, they have sunroofs as well, and you cannot get a sunroof on any Japanese model of this car. So yeah, if I was to buy one, I would go to Australia and get one from there, because firstly, I'd get 180 litres worth of fuel storage versus, I think, 70 on this. And I would also get, you know, a better interior and a sunroof and things like that. Anywho, just thought I'd say hi. And yeah, I'm going to go home. Goodbye. Thanks for your time. Before I go, look at that. 300 and something kilometers and not even a puff of smoke. I just thought I'd show you. I'm on my way home. It's 5 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, and this is the traffic in New Zealand. It's like peak hour, bumper to bumper, regardless of whatever time you are out, whatever day of the week. Yeah, it takes me like an hour and 15 minutes to get home from work sometimes. Anyway, that Prius in front of us is a JDM Prius. This RAV4 on the left is a JDM RAV4. That little Honda towing a little camper trailer is a JDM car. Every car that you're seeing on the road right now is a JDM car. And if it's a European car, it's a JDM European car. I know because I sell them. It's just crazy. New Zealand has, I would say, there goes an Toyota Alphard on the right. New Zealand probably has more cars of some specific models than Japan does of JDM cars. It's just crazy. It's great because there's a mechanic every sort of 20 meters here. The automotive industry is just, it's probably one of New Zealand's biggest industries, and you can take them whatever strange, weird, quirky Japanese car, be it from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, it doesn't matter, and they will find parts for it. They will know exactly what's wrong with it, they will know how to fix it, and they'll get it done. You just drop it off and you call them and you're like, hey, oh no, they call you. It's not as, what is this, Australia? You gotta chase up the mechanic after you drop it off. No, they call you in like 3-4 hours. Hey, your car's done. Now, if it was Australia and you dropped off Vision to a mechanic and you're like, hey, can you try find what's wrong with this and figure it out? And then you would call them for the next 3 days and they would say, I don't know, mate. Nah, no idea, mate. Yeah, I haven't looked at it yet. Nah, I've got the day off today. By the time you actually go get it, first he'll hand you a bill for like $1,800. And then secondly, he'll say, I didn't manage to fix it, but I just rerouted it and bypassed it, and off you go. She works, just kick the little button on the floor, something like that. But over here, you go pick up your car, you're like, hey, what was wrong with it? Oh, great news, it wasn't big, it was just a little relay or something. It's hidden well under the headliner, God knows what, because I'm in the motor industry, I know. And then you get the bill for it, and it's like $270. Done. There's the Sky Tower, Auckland's most prominent feature on the right there. Down here on the left is Newmarket. That's where I used to work when I first got my start in the automotive industry. You can see all the dealerships down there, all JDM. And yeah, I just thought I'd show you a little bit. There goes a Hi-Ace doing the Hi-Ace thing of cutting people off in traffic. Yeah, if you want to see JDM cars, don't go to Japan, come to New Zealand, because you're more likely to see older Japanese cars on the road here than in Japan. I filmed a clip earlier where I mentioned what I was driving behind today, and I didn't like how I looked, so I'm quite vain, and I was just a mess then, and I had people coming in and out, so I stopped filming it. But on the way to work today, I was driving behind like a 1994 Mitsubishi Pajero, and it was towing like a 2-ton boat. And yeah, you don't see that anywhere else in the world. Firstly, a 1994 Pajero just rolling around as a normal everyday car, still in everyday use by an everyday family. But secondly, towing such a big boat. And in New Zealand, we've never really cared about tow ratings and things like that. I grew up here, I just know that's a mentality. If it's got a tow bar, just chuck it on, off you go, mate, no worries. And yeah, there goes the Sky Tower in the background again. In the foreground, I should say. And that's Auckland City to the right. It is a very beautiful city, and you definitely get to admire it while you're sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic all day, every day, no matter where you go. All my stuff is still in a shipping container. For some reason it left Perth, and instead of coming to New Zealand it went to Singapore, and then had a little vacation over there, and currently it's across the Tasman Sea, so I had to go buy some clothes or something, and I just went down to the mall down the road from me. It took me about half an hour to drive there, and then I couldn't find a car park, and then so I left, and then I came back about 2 hours later, midweek, I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday. Still couldn't find a car park, and this time it took me like an hour to get there. Just like, it's just down the road. And yeah, New Zealand is, you talk to any New Zealander and they'll tell you the country's turned to absolute rubbish. People just hate it. People are struggling to survive. I know people are struggling to survive everywhere, but people really are struggling to just even eat here in New Zealand. Things are so bad, and it's not just the cost of living crisis. It's been bad for a while. It's been getting a lot worse. The government is just really bad here, and New Zealand was a first world country, quickly becoming a third world country. It's just the reality of it. This car up on the right, the sort of grey one without its headlights on, that's a Toyota Harrier. It's like a Lexus version of a Toyota, which a Lexus is a luxury version of a Toyota, but that's like a luxury version of a Lexus and a Toyota. I don't know, it's strange. But it's JDM only. There's plenty of them here. The big thing here is the stereos on all the cars only go up to like 89 FM, because that's all the radio stations in Japan. All of the gauge clusters and things, they often only read Japanese, and you got to plug a scan tool into it or take it to a dealership or redo the software to get it to turn to English again. And the maps and stuff, they never work. You got to pay something like $800 to get it all converted, if it can be converted. There's a 300 series Hi-Ace to our left, the black one. That's what my stepdad drives, but he's got the super massive mega jumbo ultra omega thing, which is about 2 times the size of that. They sold both their Hi-Aces. They sold the white passenger Hi-Ace 200 series, which is that one there. And yeah, so they sold that and bought the Prado instead. And then they sold the 200 jumbo and upgraded to the 300, which they miss. They miss both the 200 series. I don't like the 300. It doesn't feel Hi-Ace to me. The 200 felt Hi-Ace, and the 100 obviously felt Hi-Ace as well, the Vision. I've seen a lot of super customs here. They're everywhere. But I tell you what, there is none that just had the presence that Vision had and was as nice as Vision had. Cars here really get run down a lot. Oh, and another thing that I forgot to mention is, remember how OCD I was in Australia about cars and keeping them clean and scrubbing the underbody and all that? And yeah, I found it strange that I was like that in Australia while I was there. And I realized when I got to New Zealand how little I care about, keeping cars clean and worrying about the underbody and stuff like that. And it's the geography again. So Perth is really hot, really dry, and it gets almost no rainfall. When it does, it just drizzles for a bit. If it rains heavily, it will rain heavily for like 10 minutes and then it's gone, it's done. And so if you go off-road and stuff, that stuff stays on the underbody, and having a tall four-wheel drive, you see the underbody every time you see it. Over here, just a couple of days ago, we had 100 millimeters plus of rain in one day. And I get that that's an extreme weather event or whatever, but New Zealand's constantly and consistently wet. So you're driving, like I reset the trip meter this morning when I filled up the diesel. I've already done 37 kilometers. By the time I get home, it'll be like 45 kilometers. And you're doing like 45k a day in torrential downpours on saturated roads that don't ever dry up. And so the underbodies of these cars are constantly blasted clean with fresh water. And yeah, that Vision just never got that. The cars here, when there's torrential downpour, they don't get dirty, they get like water spots and stuff. And in Australia, in Perth, being so dry and just really dusty, you can imagine like 2 months without a wash, and you get like road grime and just dust and dirt built up all over the place, and it really starts to like have an impact. Whereas over here, like a few water spots every now and then, it doesn't really matter. It's fine. And that's why I never really cared about the cars as much as I did in Australia here, or vice versa. Yeah, growing up, I never obsessed about cars and things like that. I just drove them. And yeah, I think Vision was just a little bit special as well, which is why I kind of went over and above with it. Yeah, unfortunately, it's being turned into a camper van. That's just the nature of, I guess, what people want them for. It is a little bit strange being back home after 11 years overseas. This is the causeway. This used to flood, and heading out West Auckland, this is where I basically grew up. It's just familiar surroundings, even though I spent so many years in Australia. It feels like home, but it doesn't feel like home. Like, you just have this sort of connection, a pulse on things. The geography, the kind of people in the different areas. You could throw me anywhere in Auckland and I could look around for about a minute and know exactly where I am. And you just don't get that when you migrate somewhere else. But never say never, we might return to Australia one day. You just never know what the future holds. Up here on the left is Pick Apart. It's, I guess, unique to New Zealand. All those cars parked there, they're all JDM cars, and if you need a part, you basically walk in there with whatever tools you want to bring. You find the part you want, you rip it out yourself, and then you walk up to the counter with it, or you just tell them what you've got, like an engine or something, and like an engine will cost you like $100 or something, and you just carry it away. Off you go. Righty, I might end this video now. Thank you so much for sticking with me, and sorry for being so absent. I will try and start making more videos again. Obviously there's so much choice here of cars to film, and yeah, obviously back with friends and stuff like that, they all have cool cars, so I'll be around. In the meantime, feel free to email me like a lot of you have, and thanks for your support, thanks for your time, and hope you're well. Goodbye.